And we're live. Week 4 already.
Here we go again.
First time with our own custom layout here, our own logo, and also first time on YouTube, which is. Well, I don't know if you can hear that echo. I don't know if you can hear that.
No.
Yep. We're live on YouTube and we are live on Facebook.
I should close that window.
Officially,
Let me get this weird stuff going on. So yeah, week 4 already. It's gone by fast. Every week feels like a day because I don't ever leave my house. We were talking about that at work today. It's like I think we're going to like 9 weeks of working remote.
Yep.
But every day feels exactly the same. So your time is distorted. Your time reference because you don't have anything breaking it up anymore. It's weird.
Yep. Yesterday.
Well, Mitch goes to work, but Tony and I sit at home, work on our laptops, right?
Do your best. You guys are doing your best Bill Murray impersonations.
Yeah, the first few weeks were bad that way, and not. Yeah, it really was. It was not good. I'm used to it now, but it's still different. I blew a wheel on my office chair and I have to sit in on Monday or Tuesday. And so it's all been, I figured out where to place it so it doesn't throw me off. So it's at the very back. So I can actually sit and work normally, but
just don't lean back.
Blew a wheel. Yeah. My old chair. So these office chairs are expensive. I was like, they're like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Okay. So I got to figure that out.
Yeah, kid's last day of school was yesterday, and my wife goes, "You're officially on summer break. How's it feel?" I'm like, about the same as it has for the last 8 weeks.
No difference. Kids are still home.
Yeah.
Right?
Still yelling at the kids.
Yep. So I got the Roadster brought home yesterday.
Sweet.
So it's been at my friend's since, I don't remember what month I bought it. Might have been November-ish. Honestly, don't remember.
Details.
So I literally brought it. We stuck it on the trailer. We took it to his hangar, and it's been there for 6-7 months. So I don't even know the car. So bringing it home yesterday was like, I got a new car. I've had the car, but I hadn't seen it. But yeah, so it's a 32 Ford Roadster. And it's a project, no engine, no transmission. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm thinking about adding the engine out of my 53 DeSoto. So doing the little DeSoto Hemi, the little baby DeSoto, and then put in a 4-speed behind it. So
cool. That sounds like fun.
In fact, Tony has the 4-speed that I'm going to get. So I need to make those arrangements. But so I got to figure that out. It's basically a rolling steering chassis, and he did the front brakes, but it needs a lot of finish welding. Everything's kind of tacked in place, but it's got a lot of really cool parts. So
it's a glass car, right?
It's a glass car. The body and the doors are glass. The deck lid's metal. All the front sheet metal is metal. All that good stuff. So
was it a project car to begin with, or is it something that was already put together that they blew apart?
I don't think the car has ever been built into an actual car. He ended up getting it in a trade, just the body and frame. I don't know. He actually made it into a rolling car. It wasn't a rolling car when he got it. And so he picked it up, and he had it for quite a few months, did a lot of work to it. It's got a 4-inch drop axle in the front. I'd have to redo all the information I got with the car. It's got the original Banjo rear end in it, and he had it set up to put a 4-speed in with a small block Chevy, so we had kind of those things tacked in place where the motor mounts would go. I'll be able to use what he put in place, but add the mounts for the DeSoto. DeSoto mounts are interesting because they're flat on the bottom. So you can literally set them on anything and then put your donut and your bolt through it. So I just need to order a set of those through like Speedway or something, and then get those put in place. I know Bowling Brothers makes them that you can weld onto your frame, so I might be able to use what he built out and just add the little donut and the bolt and the flat washers and stuff. That might work just fine. So I get that sorted out. Got the 37 DeSoto sold. It's supposed to be picked up on Saturday.
Oh, good.
So that'll be out of my yard and give me some space and give me some cash. And it's heading down to Fresno area, Sanger. So that's
so weird to hear you say it's heading down to Fresno.
Down to Fresno. Well, when you're in LA, everything's up, right?
Up, yeah.
Except for San Diego, right?
Yep.
Yeah, down to Fresno. So yeah, he called me. He's really excited about it, and it's going away, and that'll be great for him, great for me. So, and I'm starting to throw some more parts up online, extra parts I got with different vehicles, and I guess people have time and they have money right now, and I think people, because they're drawing unemployment, so they're getting extra there, and they've got time because everything I've thrown up, I've got a lot of interest in really fast.
Wow.
So it's like, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Keep buying my junk.
Yeah, that Nova I sold last week. I mean, from the moment I put it up, the offer up just never stopped.
Yes.
With the messages, just one after the other and like 10 guys all at once. Is it still available? Do you still have it? How much do you want for it? I'll give you this much. I can come tonight. All that business. Yeah. And
so
I haven't seen it like this in 10 years.
Yeah, I threw it on offer up, and I have extra parts for the 63 C10 that I got, and so I have an extra hood, and I have a lot of extra parts. So I dug the hood out a few days ago, and took some pictures of it and threw it up there, and I've probably had 15 people ask about it. So I either have it priced too low, or I'm not sure what the deal is, but as long as it's out of my way and it gives me some money, it's all good. So
yeah, I think people have time to shop too.
Yeah, that too. People are online. Yeah.
Yeah, because right now I'm messing with Max's truck and getting those valve covers from Jeff. I've been looking at, I want new valve covers too, and I want a like steering wheel for my Chevy, and I'm just like shopping, and it's just, I'm like, I have a steering wheel, I got valve covers. Don't tear it down. Don't spend the money. But I want to shop. I want to buy.
What kind of steering wheel are you looking for? Because I've got a stack of them here.
I'd like a green metal flake one.
Okay, flake one. Okay.
Moon or something like that.
Okay.
Right now I just got I think it's a Grant. It's the black foam style.
Yep.
I want a green one to go with the rest of the car.
I've got a stack of Grants. My cousin that I got the 63 C10 from was a big Grant steering wheel aficionado. And so when I got the truck, I've probably got 3 or 4 from him. And they're all like real nice, but I don't know if I'll end up running. I like either OEM or something period aftermarket. So
I want the one I'm looking at is Moon. So
yeah, Moon's cool. But Moon is what I put on my on the gasser. It's a red metal flake.
Yeah. This one's the one I like is I think they call it California style, and the spokes have like 2 cutouts instead of just the one or the circles. And
okay,
of course, it's the more expensive one of the bunch, but yeah, it's just time to shop and nothing to buy it with. So
right, my finances haven't changed and my work schedule haven't changed, so nothing's really changed for me. I don't have more time and I don't have more money. So I just need to sell the junk I have and help finance, some of these other builds. So I'm about 2 weeks away from getting I keep saying that, but I'm about 2 weeks away for getting the panel truck up for sale. So I'm waiting for the guy. I think we already talked about this. I met a guy who they never reproduced the taillight lenses for the 58 panel trucks. And if you could find them online, they go for quite a lot of money. And so I was in this Facebook group and talking to some different people, and this guy's like, I'm going to start reproducing those, but I only have the passenger side. My passenger side was broke. My driver's side was good. He goes, if you're willing to send me your good driver's side, I can make a mold of that. That'll give me a set of molds. I'll make you a good mold, a good lens for each side, and then I'll send you your originals back if you just send me your lens. So he's got it. It's in Michigan right now. So he's supposed to be getting the molds and getting everything poured and all that stuff, and then I should have some lenses. So I found a set of NOS lenses for the front. They're just round, clear ones on eBay. So you can get a set of those like in the original boxes for like $20 for the pair delivered. So I picked those up. So that'll give me good lenses for the outside and be able to get that put together. And hopefully there's as much interest in that as there is in the other junk that I'm throwing up for sale, and it leaves here, and then I can start building some of this other stuff. So give me money for the gasser and give me money for the roadster, and then go from there. That's always been a challenge is balancing what to buy, what to sell, what to build, and how to finance it. So buying and flipping parts has always been a way to finance the projects. For me, I've kind of always done that. And sometimes if I can pick up a car cheap, I'll flip a whole car. That'll give me some money to roll into another project. How do you guys usually finance your projects? Because mine's not planned at all. It's kind of very it's all over the place. I'm not one of those detailed guys who makes the lists, and it's just chaotic.
Yeah, when I started getting real heavy into all this buying and selling and flipping stuff, the first project that I started with was in, I want to say 2002 or 2003, and it was a little 27 fiberglass roadster body.
Okay.
With Bob 32 frame, 32 front end, and a set of Mercury wheels and some wishbones, some chrome wishbones, and a few other pieces. And starting from that, I want to say I got maybe 1,100, 1,500 somewhere in there. From that initial purchase, I have just in flipping parts, buying, selling, buying cars, selling cars, I'm still money up. I haven't put a fresh dollar in since then.
Wow.
That's good.
Now, granted, back then, the market was really hot.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of folks who didn't know what they had, and you could just buy stuff up for nothing. That's when you can still buy complete Model A's for $3,000.
Oh, wow.
You know, and I think my coupe I paid $5,000 for, but I'd spent all day and all night on the recycler and on eBay and on Craigslist and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, people would come by and, hey, I got this and I got that. And I'd go out and I'd buy stuff that was hot,
mm-hmm.
and then turn around and resell it, and then buy a car and put the pieces together and sell it for, a bit more than the aggregate. And then, next thing you know, you got this big pile of junk in your yard. And then, you know what I'm talking about, Lance. And so then the next thing the next thing you know, it's like, okay, it's time for a yard sale. And so you put everything up and you blow everything out. Now you got a big chunk of change, and you can go back in. But for me anyway, the key to that has been knowing what's going to sell after you buy it.
Right.
Because there's certain things that you can always sell.
Yep.
If you buy a 67 Camaro, you can sell it. It's just a matter of, are you buying at the right price?
Right.
If you buy a Model A or a 32 Ford or any of the pre-war Fords.
Yep.
But what I noticed is the difficulty that you were having in getting your DeSoto sold, even at $850.
Yeah.
And so I think that
was interesting.
So I
went for sale over 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a cool car. It's something different,
mm-hmm.
but like a guy came into the shop today and he says, hey, I found this 67 Buick Electra Special 125 or whatever it was. And he says, is that worth getting into? And I said, well, what's your plan? Are you going to keep it? This is your dream car. You want to hold on to it? He says, no, I was just thinking I'll fix it up and sell it. I said, don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Nobody's in the market for a Buick. It starts Chevy first, Pontiac second, Oldsmobile third. You buy them in that order. And, it's going to depend on how complete they are, what the availability and parts are, not only NOS used, but aftermarket. And so I know a lot of guys, when we're all looking through the Craigslist ads and OfferUp ads, you see those odd bird cards, those kind of stepchildren cars.
Yeah.
And you go, hey man, and they want to get back out of it what they've got invested in it,
Right.
and there's just no way. And but I've been very fortunate that I got a hold of that niche early on, and so this T-Bucket that I'm putting together right now, I haven't spent a dime on it. I mean, because I actually did keep records for about 10 years of how much money I had in and out. My old Jalopy Journal notebook, you guys remember when those came out?
Yep.
And then I got spreadsheets and all that stuff. But even the car that I sold, my old Chevy, which I found again. Did I tell you guys the story about that? I will. But even that car, even though I had lost a couple of bucks on that one, I was still money ahead on the whole deal, you know.
Yeah.
But now I've gone cash starved. So now I just got to build with what I have and start the whole process all over again.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. Like speaking of Buicks, the Buick I had last year that I had picked up, the Buick Skylark 65. That was a neat car, really, really neat car.
That was a neat car.
And
I wish I would have bought it sometime still.
I wasn't even looking for it. A friend of mine had it on Facebook, and I didn't even know he owned the car. He was looking to buy a house, and the car had been sitting in his garage for a couple of years, and he's not really a car guy. And it needed work. It wasn't drivable. The transmission was leaking fluid really bad, and so I went over there with cash in hand, and I'm like, "This is all I can spend." And he's like, "I'll take it." So I got a good deal on it to start with. I ended up putting quite a few $1,000s into it because I got into it for such a good price, and then really fixed everything on it that it needed and kind of dialed it in. But by the time I had it for sale, I made a little money on it still, but I got to work on it, invest into it. And it's nice when you can buy something, invest money into it, enjoy it, and then sell it and still make some money.
Yeah.
That's always like the win-win, because I like learning, I like working on stuff, but it ran and drove. It had a V8, it was an automatic, power steering, and mechanically it really didn't need it. Needed a lot of cosmetic stuff, which I focused on, getting the horrendous paint on it all stripped off and put a really good coat of primer on. That car's actually in England right now.
Wow.
Oh wow!
I sold it to a guy locally, but before I did that, I put it up on eBay. I never listed a car on eBay before. That was the very first one, and I had a guy from England contact me, and he was a serious buyer, but I honestly just didn't want to mess with the logistics of getting the car to a container or whatever that looked like. So I ended up finding another guy locally. So the local guy that bought it, he enjoyed it for about 3 months, then decided he wanted to buy something else. So I found out it was relisted. So I ended up sending the information to the guy in England who wanted to buy it originally, and he bought it from him. And so he had it put in the container, shipped it over there, and he's been driving it and enjoying it. So yeah, another California car went to Europe. So
Yep. Yeah, the last Buick I had, it was a 61 special 4-door, beautiful car. Got it for $3,000 off a guy. He was retiring to Florida, and he had like a 61 Cadillac and the Buick, and he couldn't take both of them. And so he came, and he wasn't a car guy. He just drove old cars, and it was in beautiful shape. I don't remember if you guys remember seeing it. And he came to me and he says, I can only get, he says that a scrapyard offered him $3,000 for it because he couldn't sell it. Nobody wants a big Buick.
yeah,
They're not super popular. You can't find parts for them, but it was a beautifully complete, good running car.
yeah,
And I got it for $3,000. So of course I just flipped it, but mine went to Australia, I believe.
okay,
So I had a Model A that went to Sweden. My 67 Firebird went to Norway, and now this car went to Australia.
yeah.
So, but hey, man, I'm not that hardcore, keeping it in the States, man. I want my cash.
That was my first Buick I've ever owned. That was my first eBay ad I ever ran. It was the first car I ever sent out of the country. So, and I didn't actually own it when it went out, but
It's a
I followed
trifecta.
it. I'm still in touch with that guy because he imports cars. He does it
Cool.
as kind of a business, but he was looking for that car specifically for himself as a personal car. So he has it and he's driving that. So
Wow.
it's pretty neat. But yeah, my buying and selling and flipping Like the first year I dated my wife, I bought and sold 10 cars in that calendar year. And so I always say, well, she knew what she was getting in for, it was not a surprise. But, first few years of marriage, that slowed way down to almost a screeching halt, just finances and young kids and family and, obligations. But now my kids are adults and, things are completely different. So it's, back to, I don't have the energy I used to, so I don't buy and sell as much, but things just find me. People know you're into cars and they seek you out and they're like, hey, what do you think of this? And I need to get rid of some cars now, so I'm not looking to buy anything anytime soon. So I need to declutter my yard, declutter the garage, and focus on some of that's my hardest part right now, is figuring out what to focus on and what to build and what not to build and what to let go of. So once I get down to 4 to 5, I have 7 right now. So once the DeSoto goes, it'll be 6, and then so it'll be challenging. The truck thing's the challenging for me. Is like keep the F-250 that I've been working on and driving for the last few years, or focus on the C10 that I picked up. And I don't need 2 trucks. I don't need 2 old trucks. Or should I just get rid of both those trucks and buy something newer? Just have a newer, reliable truck. Because that's part of the challenge. Is if you're driving and picking up stuff and you need to throw a trailer behind your car and you need to drive a couple hundred miles to pick something up, neither one of these trucks could do that. So it's like, okay, well, I still don't really have a truck that can do those things. So, got to sort that out. And I wanted the custom, right? So I got my 53 DeSoto, and I wanted the hot rod. So I got the Roadster. And then, of course, you need a truck, right? And then throw a gasser in the mix, and too much to deal with. So, but financing them has always been the challenge. How to invest, what to sell. Yeah,
I think the problem that a lot of guys make getting into it is they're just completely unrealistic about what it actually costs to get the ball rolling, and they watch all these silly shows on the internet and on cable TV, and they think, this is the way it always works.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna find some little old lady with a numbers matching SSRS sitting underneath, and then I'm just gonna drag
I'm
it
gonna
out.
get it for $1,200.
Yeah, and I'm gonna sell it on Barrett Jackson without spending a dime.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. And so I get a lot of folks who come into my shop asking, hey, how much is it going to cost to do this, and that? Right. And so I always ask, well, what's your motivation? What are you doing? What are you planning on doing with the car?
Right.
And the conversation generally goes something like this. Had a fella come in with a 65 Nova, let's say it was. And he says, well, I picked it up for a song, man. It's got a little 6-cylinder in it. And so I figured I'll put a V8 in it and paint it. And then, redo the interior, and I'll flip it. I says, and I'm assuming you're planning on doing all the work yourself. He goes, no, that's why I'm here. I says, well, you're going to spend as much on you'll spend 5 times as much on labor as you paid for the car.
Yep.
Because this, and then, so then they go, well, give me an idea.
That's 30 and sell it for 20.
Yeah, exactly. So they say, well, give me an idea. I says, well, you're going to be into it for $5,000 for a motor, not including all the extra stuff.
Easily. Yeah.
And then you're into a tranny for another $2,000, and then you got to rebuild the rear end for another $2,000, and then paint is going to be a minimum $7,000, and then interior is going to be another $3,000. So
that's a low end paint job.
Right, exactly. And so if you're flipping, your margin, there's no margin. You're going to be into it for $18,000 for a car. You can sell for 14 or 12. And so I think
that's why you got it for a song.
Yeah, and I tell people, when people come to my shop anyway, unless it's a car that they got from their grandfather and it's been in the family for 100 years, or like I had a fella call me today, says he's got this 65 Mustang he's been waiting to build it for 15 years, and he's held off on buying a new car because he wants to build this car as his daily driver. And I says, okay, well, if you're willing to spend that kind of money for a car you're going to keep and give to your kids, that's great. Yeah. But if you're going to buy a car that you're going to have a shop build, you're better off buying a car that's already built and just changing the couple little things you don't like. Change the tires, put different seat covers on it, whatever. But, you know, most of these guys wind up going completely upside down on stuff. And then when they go to sell them, you guys all know the story, right? The car's been sitting there in the driveway for 100 years, or it's been sitting in the garage, and you've seen the front end and the car's all covered with boxes. You go, hey, what are you going to do with that car? And it's either one of two answers. One of these days, I'm going to fix it up. Or, oh, no, it's for sale. Well, how long has it been for sale? 22 years? Yeah, why haven't you sold it? Well, because I can't get what I have into it. Well, you never will.
No.
You know? And so I think when it comes to this stuff, if you're going to buy one of these things, then it's got to be a matter of you're willing to get your hands dirty and learn how to do this stuff and spend a lot of money while you're learning the first time around, so that after that you can learn how to do it more efficiently and more effectively. But it's it's a tough deal. And especially right now with, you know, the influx of new aftermarket parts, and everything is a catalog piece anymore.
Yeah.
And so I guess that kind of makes it nice for guys like us who are looking for original stuff and old parts, you know. And I don't know if I told you guys, there was like, I got when you said quick change rear end and you're 32, a friend of mine calls me and says, hey, my granddad has a yard full of crap, and he was hoping you'd come over and take a look at it and see if you know what you can do to help him. Sure, no problem. So I go over and walk into his backyard, and he's an old kind of a hoarder type guy, automotively speaking. And so I asked him to kind of show me what he's got, and he's got a 27 Roadster pickup on A rails,
nice,
with a flathead in it, but it's all covered in rust. He'll never, ever, ever lay another finger on it except to move the tarp. He's on a walker. So we start going through the bins. There's a set of NOS, or not NOS, but original Edelbrock flatheads, 24 stud flatheads, which he gave to me.
Wow.
Then there's a quick change, aluminum quick change, which he gave to me.
You still have that?
And I have to go pick it up. All I got to do, do is help. I know you do. All I got to do is clear the rest of the junk out of his backyard.
Wow.
Right? So he's got like a 78 Malibu 4-door that's just a shell with a motor and a tranny in it.
Yeah.
And then he's got an AMC like Hornet station wagon or something. And then he's got like a Buick something or another with a 3.8 V6. And then he's got this Studebaker, like a 53 Studebaker that somebody had sideswiped. And they've got this unrealistic expectation that they're going to be able to fix it up. But I told them, you're looking at 50 grand worth of work right there. You know, and then their tune kind of changed a little bit. But, you know, this stuff is still out there.
Yeah.
But like you said, the energy level has now come down. The aversion to risk has come down. My want to, but I'm a hopeless garage lunker. Like, I'll go walk through anybody's garage just to see if there's little magical pieces laying in the shelves and in the clutter, you know?
Yep.
And in this case, it paid off. All I got to do is help the guy get all the crud out of there.
That's
so I told him I'll come back with a truck and
Yeah.
I'll haul all the scrap metal out of here. And then I'll call my junk guys and I'll have them come cut these cars up and drag them out.
Yeah.
But he's got 2 complete small blocks, just complete, ready to go. You just got to pick them up and take them. And then he had this really cool, it was a Ford Flathead 6 that had an overhead conversion valve head on it. Only 2 were ever made. And he's got one of them.
Wow.
And the motor's just sitting out in the backyard under a tarp. No grandkids to speak of, nobody who's going to do anything with it. So, of course, you know what the question is. Well, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
You know, you want to come off of it? No. You know, they got these emotional attachments to stuff, so they're not going to come off. But, you
And
know.
a lot of times the kids don't want to deal with it anyway. They're going to call, as soon as, you know, grandpa's gone, they're going to be calling the scrap guy or taking some pictures and throwing them up on Facebook, seeing, because they're they're not even going to know what the stuff is most of the time, and try to sell it. It's crazy. And that got, I mean,
So
it's kind of a weird story, but like that was going on in San Francisco because there's a lot of elderly people passing away, and their grandkids or great grandkids are inheriting this stuff, and so they're coming into homes that have been furnished since probably like the 40s or 30s or 50s, and they're literally taking 100% of the vintage furniture and setting it out on the street and just putting the place up for sale because they're just wanting to turn. They're just wanting the box,
boy.
man. And I've heard more than one story about that. And then you have this vintage, beautiful, perfect furniture that's just it's either somebody's going to come take it or it's just going to scrap. It's just like
wind up in the scrapyard. Yep.
There's no respect for for it. It's like, oh
yeah. Well, now we've got a catalog society. And I mean, even to the point now with us, you can build a 100% complete, brand new 67 Camaro or Tri-5 Chevy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Out of a catalog, every last piece.
Yep.
And so guys are a lot more willing to just scrap everything but that little piece of the A-pillar with 2 rivets in it.
Right.
And and so a lot of this stuff is just, I've seen a lot of stuff just going down the street on the back of a junk truck, wondering where the heck is that? And you know where it's going, and there's no way you can buy it.
Yeah, it's gone.
Because once it gets there, it's gone. But I do have a friend who because he works right by the big pick-apart yard, and when he sees guys rolling in, he sprints out his front door and goes and makes offers before they get through the gate.
Right.
And he's managed to score a couple of pretty nice little pieces.
Nice.
I
was watching some episodes, catching up on some old episodes of Roadkill last night, and I was watching the one where they were talking about the Crusher Camaro because that's how he got that car, because it was going to be crushed. It was the California buyback, and they salvaged that, so they've been using it all these years. So.
Yeah, I remember reading that article when that happened.
Early 90s, somewhere in that time frame. Yeah.
Earlier, but they happened to see him rolling in and went and bought it off. It was brand new, or not brand new, but completely original, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was untouched. It was original paint and everything, I believe. Yeah. Talking about listing stuff, it made me think back before the internet and studying like the Mini Merchant. We used to have a Mini Merchant here come out every Thursday. I don't know if you have something similar where you were the early 90s.
Ours was the recycler.
80s, early 90s, and getting into that because that's where all the good stuff was. Like, there wasn't in the local newspaper. It was in the Mini Merchant because it would run longer, and you could look up the section that you were wanting, if it was either cars or parts or whatever. And man, I bought so many cars out of that. The only Charger I ever bought was out of there. It was a 68 Charger, 2-door. And bought it for $300, and the guy delivered it to my house for the $300.
Wow.
And it was out of there. It was like, it's amazing. I bought a '66 Corvette factory big block car. Same deal, $300 delivered to my house. It was a 2-door hardtop, had bucket seats, and it was it just needed an engine. So it was amazing. Those days are gone forever now.
Yeah. In 1988, like we had the same thing. It was called the recycler.
Yeah.
And that was what you do first thing in the morning.
Yep.
You get up, you go to the 7-Eleven, you sit there, and you snatch them because everybody who knew what they were doing knew what they were doing.
Yep.
And I'll never forget, because I didn't know what I know now, or actually what I came to know like a year or two later.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget this ad. And it said, I think it said 1967 Camaro, big engine, something called a Yanko, $1,500. I had no clue. I mean, I'm sure that thing was gone within 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
they probably had fist fights of people showing up at the same time.
Absolutely.
You don't want that. That's the worst kind of Camaro.
That's the worst kind. And those Baldwin motions.
Yeah.
Stay away from those things, Yeah. A good friend of mine growing up, he had a Yanko. It was picked up from I'll have to ask him again and see. It was either at an auction or was at a I can't remember. He ended up getting it was a real Yanko 69 that he had for a while. And then I heard another guy that I know, there was a church and they were doing a fundraiser, and so they were like, bring your stuff down, we'll sell it at the church. 65 the fastback, the
Barracuda.
no 65 Mustang.
Oh, yeah,
But,
yeah.
but it was the what's the dude's name? It's drawing a blank here.
Shelby.
Shelby.
It was a real Shelby, 65 Shelby. They brought down. This was actually the same guy that had the Yanko. This was a friend of his. That's how he got it. He still owns that car today.
Wow.
And he brought it down there. They ended up
Wow.
getting it for like I don't know, $1,000 or $1,500 or something. And this would have been. It was before things really took off. It was probably like late 80s, early 90s. So those things were still sort of around. They hadn't like gone into the 6-digit areas yet. Some of those were just, but amazing. But knew what you could buy in the early 80s for a couple $1,000 are now worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's staggering.
Oh, yeah, I had a guy right after I bought my Volkswagen, my first Volkswagen. I paid $1,500 for it, and a guy down the street. I was walking. My grandmother lived down the road, and I don't remember if I was riding my skateboard or whatever to go down to her house. And I looked up in the driveway and I saw the tail end of a 66 Chevelle.
Mm.
And it was a guy that I went to school with, his dad. So I knew who they were. So I went, hey bro, can I take a look at the car? Yeah, come on in, take a look. And I go in and take a look, and it was a 396 car. Maybe it was a 67. Anyway, it was a 396 car. All the chrome was done. All the interior was done. Body work was done, and it was in black primer. Beautiful car.
Yeah.
Had new tires, new wheels. Had rallies with trim rings and caps, the whole bit. And so I says, "Wow, this is a great car, and I really would like to have a car like this someday." And he says, "Kid, you can have it for $1,500." He goes, my wife. I'm in the middle of divorce. I got to get rid of it. He goes, "You can have it for $1,500." And I had just spent $1,500 on that silly Volkswagen. So that's another one of those that got away stories.
Yeah.
And and you just think, but when you do find opportunities like that, you have to jump on them if you want to make it in the hustle side of this game. I mean, if you've got liquid money and you can just spend and buy and do whatever you want, hey, that's great. I'm not in that position.
That's a similar story to how I got my Chevelle too. I mean, but I actually had the money, but it was $1,700. But it was a '67 SS 396 car, turbo 400, 12-bolt, bucket seats, and had a brand new 396 in it. I mean, you could still smell the paint on the engine, and it had headers, but it had garbage exhaust. It was primered gray, rally wheels. But I saw the ad in the paper, and I'm like, oh, I got to go check this out. And I went over there, and I forget what the guy had started out asking. It was probably around $4,500, and then went to $3,500, and then I want to say it was like $2,500, and a real short time frame. It was like he needed money bad, and I ended up offering him $1,700 cash, and he took it.
Wow.
And I took it, drove it, had exhaust put on it and stuff. But I was just, and he had paid. He told me what he paid, and it was like within a couple of months, he had paid like way, way more money for the car. And he just needed some cash like today. And that was a great car. I should have held on to that one. That was a lot of fun.
Well, my Chevy, when I found it, it was about an hour north of here at a college. One of those gas station car lots that they have, And I was up there for work, and I saw it sitting there. I went to talk to the guy, and I think they're asking $25 for it. Back 20 years ago for a complete '53 Chevy. I think the paint was the only thing that wasn't original on it. And I went home and grabbed my dad. Like, we got to go look at this car. I was going to build an El Camino at the time, and I'm like, nope, we're going to look at this. I think we drug it home for 21.5 or something like that. And, I think now, you can't even look the halfway decent '53 Chevy for $2,000, and it's
not twice that.
Yeah. So, but then my son's car we found, or his pickup, we found it. My buddy Jeff knew where it was, and we got it for a steal just because they knew Jeff, and they
Hmm.
really didn't know, that these square body pickups are going up in price. And I told Jeff, I said, let's buy it, and even if I don't end up using it, I could probably sell it for 3 times what I'm paying for it. And what
What
kills me,
year's the truck, Tony?
86.
86. Do you have to smog your stuff back there?
No.
No. Okay. You would have to here if it was in California.
Just
That's why a lot of those are cheap here because people don't want to have to smog them.
just got through yanking all that stuff off and throwing it in the trash.
Yeah.
So I just a customer of mine just hit me up with a really cool tip. And I remember when we were talking about El Caminos last week. If you can find any of that earlier stuff with a diesel in it,
Hmm.
you can yank the diesel out, put your V8 in it, and it doesn't matter what year it is, you don't have to smog it.
Yep.
So if you can find a diesel pickup or a diesel El Camino, which they only made that for a couple of years or
Now
whatever.
They produced a Buick with a diesel, didn't they?
Yes.
My friend had one, and he pulled it out, and he put like a wicked small block in it, and drove that for a few years because, like in the papers, you don't have to smog. I think you have to smog diesel stuff here now. I think, or maybe
the newer
it's
stuff
just
you do.
trucks. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But they keep changing that stuff around. But no, he drove this really cool Buick, little Buick. It was fast because they weren't designed for what he put in it. That was great.
Well, my daughter says when she gets old enough, she wants a pickup too. And
Yeah.
my neighbor across the street, I've noticed when we moved in about a year ago, he's got a 71 Chevy pickup sitting in his garage, tucked off to one side and stacked under boxes. And I haven't got to go over and talk to him yet, but
Yeah.
I saw he brought a cherry picker home the other day, so I don't know if he's getting ready to start on it or what the deal is. But I don't know if it still sits here in a few years when my daughter's ready to drive. I may be, hey, how you doing?
Yeah, we've got a guy that lives across the street from my mother-in-law. And I don't believe he has any kids or anything like that. He's an older fella. And he's got a 1990, it's either 89 or 90 Chevy 1500 short bed.
Oh.
And it's clean. It's a refrigerator white, just stock looking vehicle. And he parks it in his garage and he backs it in, and his garage is all super spotless. So I know the guy's taking care of his car. So one day I saw him out front and I came out and says, hey, man, I know you don't know me. My mother-in-law lives across the street here. If you ever are thinking about selling that truck, please let my brother-in-law know. And, I'd be interested in buying it. He goes, yeah, I hear that all the time. I says, I know you hear it all the time, but I'm here to tell you, so what is it? Is it a small block, autumn? He goes, oh, no, this is an RPO car. So what? So it's got the Corvette 350 in it with a 5-speed and a Posse tall gear rear end in it. So it's a total special order street screamer.
Wow.
And so I'm hoping, like I said, everybody needs a truck, right? So if you're going to get one, you might as well get one that's worth getting.
That's right.
We'll see. I'm sure he probably knows what it's worth. And probably a lot of guys have probably come by and offered him a crap ton of money, And then there's a guy that lives right around the corner from him that has a 27 Roadster that's been sitting out in front of the house. Same thing for years.
Yeah.
So I asked, hey, what do you think? What do you think you might want come off of that? He goes, no, probably more money than you're willing to spend. I said, well, try me. He says, well, it's going to be a lot. I go, let me guess, you're going to fix it up one day. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just keep coming back and trying, But there was a guy around the corner from me, and he had a 41 Ford Coupe that had been sitting up on stands for 20 years. Complete car, had everything. They put a Mustang 2 in it, and they had cut part of the dash for some reason, but it had everything, all the interior and the engine. It had a small block and a 350, a complete car, just needed to be put together. Same thing. I go, hey, what are you going to do with that car? He goes, well, I'm looking to sell it. I says, well, how much you want for it? He goes, well, it's a lot of money. Well, try me. He goes, I can't take a penny less than $6,000 for it. I say, what? He says, yeah, $6,000, but I wasn't in the market. I just bought my 57. But, so those things are still out there. Literally, I could have had it home and in a month of Saturdays, I could have had it together and on the road.
Wow.
You know, so and then I would have, of course, I would have flipped it. You know,
Yeah.
because it wasn't an opera coupe.
Well, I'll be hitting you up
It was
for
long
advice
ago.
working on this Roadster because I've never messed with a 1930s anything before. So this is
They're fun,
all,
simple and fun.
all new. It is very simple and it steers really nice. Like he set up the steering components really, really well. And yeah, this is all new. Like 50s and on up. You know, I've played with that stuff a lot, but this early stuff is. I'm glad it's simple because it's like, you know, for the age, but. Yeah, I'm looking forward to taking it apart, getting it all set up, and yeah, it's gonna be fun. Work, but fun.
Yeah, we look forward to the build on that one.
Yeah,
Did I tell you guys that I made contact with the guy who bought my old Chevy?
yes.
Yeah, so it turns out I went and found the Instagram post. Somebody tagged me in the Instagram post he made when he bought the car. And it was one of my pictures that I took when the car was at the Motorama. that was his Instagram post. And
Funny.
yeah, and he was just going on and on and on about how he was following the build from day one and
Nice.
how much it was like he wanted that car.
Wow.
And so I know it's in the right hands because
Yeah.
he was just gushing about having the car. So I know he's going to take real good care of it. But I got to go out that way to pick up a dog on Saturday, so I might go down and do a glamour shot of that, and then hopefully we can figure out how to post it up here, and we'll actually premiere that video right here live on Speed and Chrome.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I got to figure out how to do
That'd be
that.
awesome.
Maybe we'll have our live show and then we'll end it and then we'll go into the premiere. That would
Maybe.
probably that would work. We could figure that out.
Yeah, bribe people to
That's a
view.
Yep.
Yep.
Our subscribers are growing on YouTube, so we're getting real close to that 500 mark, and we'll be able to put the giveaway together. So
Fantastic.
yeah, we're 550 something. I think we're growing at over 40 people per month, so that's pretty good. I think last year it was 10 or 15 a month, so it's getting some traction. So
well, now the summer's here, maybe we can get, or I can go out and get some content and we get that stuff going again. So
yeah, you're off now. You got all this time, Tony.
I'm officially unemployed now, so it's August.
For the summer, man, I'd like to be off for the summer. I could get so much done. Oh man.
Yeah, I'm gonna try, especially since the boy's gonna be driving soon. Now I'll have somebody to help drive along, so I can get glamour running footage.
That's awesome.
Yep.
We'll see.
Yep.
Well, man, we've talked for almost an hour tonight. We've actually ran a little longer than we normally do. So I always wonder if we're going to have enough to talk about. But you know what? If you're into cars, you can talk for days. It seems. You know, I never met a car guy who didn't want to talk cars, and you continually talk about cars. So that's a challenge I've had. I don't know if you've ran into it, but if you've ever had a car for sale and people actually show up, I don't get as many people showing up to see things anymore just because of the whole online thing. But it used to be like, I guess the older guys would look in the paper in the morning and see what was for sale, and they would just go look at it just to talk to people about cars.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people show up at my house and I'd be like, what time are you guys gonna, I got things to do here. I mean, they'll talk,
Yeah.
But it's funny.
But how many cool people have we met,
A lot.
Along the way, which is really cool.
Yeah, good friends. Making
Yep.
still, that's good. Car people are pretty good.
I'll agree with
There's
that.
For the most part, there's always those people, no matter where you're at, that's gonna, be nerds. But car people are pretty good guys.
The ones who are in it for the right reasons. I met a lady who, I forgot what was it, a whole Fairlane, I think, and it belonged to her dad, and she had it completely, it was 100% restored, and she stood guard on it the whole time.
Mom,
it's just like, and it's just like, you never drive this, do you? Well, no, I just go from here to there, and it's like, well, you're doing it wrong then.
Yeah, you're gonna drive it. I just saw a post of somebody on Facebook earlier today, and they were trying to. She's got a 32 Ford Roadster, and she stuck it in a trailer. It's been sitting there for a while, and she was trying to get the gas drained out of it and trying to get, it's got the 3 deuces, trying to get all of those cleaned up so they actually work. And I'm like, man, you don't drive your stuff, it goes bad. Worst thing you can do is let things sit.
Yeah.
That's a shame. But that's what keeps us in business over here, so I'm not complaining really.
Yeah, things sit,
Yep.
and then they sit, and then everything eventually comes up for sale.
Yep.
That's
And the
been
good
fine.
news, we got before I forget, we got that Model A running really good. So it had 297s on a banger,
Okay.
and it's just way over carbureted.
Yeah.
And everybody I talked to, I talked to Bobby over at Old Crow Speed Shop, and I talked to this guy out in Florida, and then I talked to the guys at H&M. I mean, I talked to everybody. And as soon as I said 97s, everybody went, it's over carbureted. Put 81s on it. Well, nobody makes Stromberg started making new 81s, but they're back ordered and they're really expensive.
Mhm.
So we talked to a guy in Florida who makes adjustable jets for the 97s. So
you can
we
shut
could
it
lean,
down.
so we could lean it down.
Okay.
And so we got it running and got it out on the road. And so we're going to be doing a glamour shoot on that one coming up pretty soon too, now that it's coming out from the shadows.
Nice.
So that was a really good feeling because it's been here for months
Right.
now, because it's been one problem after another, and then
Right.
trying to figure out how are we going to do it. And that's the other thing, that guys get into this stuff and they don't realize some of this stuff isn't just click a button and it shows up on your doorstep,
Right.
and that's why we caution guys to stay away from Buicks and DeSotos.
I'm glad you brought that up because I've wanted to run. They make an aftermarket aluminum inline 4 intake for the small Hemis, but you can't run 4 carbs. That thing originally had a 2-barrel carb. It's only 276 cubic inches. So I'm trying to figure that out. If I if I got one of those, would I just run 2 carbs? Maybe run 2 of this, or jet 297s down, and run it that way. Or I got to figure out how those intakes are designed. If you can run them off 2, or if you're gonna hurt the other cylinders because it's not gonna, flow the fuel like they should. I don't know. They look great, but so for now, I had the original 2-barrel. I think it's a 2-barrel, honestly. It's been so long since I messed with that engine. It might even be a 1-barrel, but whatever it is, I had it all rebuilt, and I sent it to a company in Florida, and they replated it, rebuilt it, so it's perfect. But those engines are interesting because it flows the engine coolant, runs up and runs to the carburetor, and runs back down into the intake manifold. That was part of their way of, they thought it would, 1953 technology. So some of the things they did really good, some of the things they didn't do so good. So that car in 53, it had 2 wheel cylinders per wheel in the front, and they were almost impossible to make go straight when you hit the brakes. So that wasn't good. But the other interesting thing is they had roller bearings in the front of those, not ball bearings in 1953.
Right.
So they were ahead of the game there. The brakes not so much, So it's interesting. I think that was a power steering and power brake car originally, and
it's crazy. I'm sorry. It's crazy how far ahead DeSoto was.
Yeah.
I've got a 35 here that's got independent A-arm front suspension, parallel leafs, open drive. The e-brake was on the drive shaft.
That's why mine is.
Just all this way ahead stuff when all of the majors were all still doing I-beam front ends and transverse leaf springs and all that kind of stuff, And it's just such a neat car. I really do like the DeSotos. And then after I noticed you got on that DeSoto group on Facebook, and I'm on the same one.
Yeah.
Because I got DeSotos and I used to have an old Plymouth too, and it's that Plymouth, that 48 had that same dual cylinder thing, nightmare.
Yeah.
But
I got rid of that. Fortunately, I was able to retain the hubs with the bearings. I drilled out the 4, whatever they're called. They're not the bolts, but they're pressed on. The
studs.
Yeah, the studs. So they're pressed on studs. I drilled those out, and then I was able to use the whole disc brake assembly bolted on. So I was able to use the original hubs. So that's all
Nice.
converted to disc brakes now on that car. It's manual
Fantastic.
disc, but it's fine. That'll work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I got a buddy who he's got a baby Hemi in his 30. What is his? He's got an old I think it's an old Plymouth. Anyway, I'll hit him up and ask him about that multiple carburetor thing, because he's running a pretty cool setup on his.
yeah, that's it's not cheap. I think it's like $1,000 for the intake. Once in a while it's in for like 600, 600 to 800, maybe $1,000 at the most. And then whatever those individual carbs cost, So you're looking at like probably $2,000, 2,500 for that. By the time you get the carbs, the intake, the linkage, and all that stuff set up, but
And
on
then
a
spend a
roadster,
month setting it up.
you see all that, right? So it's like it's worth the pain to get there. So
Yeah, you're not. Why don't you just put an LS in it?
yeah, that's a good idea, Mitch.
We'll put hood sides on it. Be good to go.
Mhm.
No one will ever know.
Yeah, no one will ever know.
Nope.
All right, guys, man.
All right.
An hour now. Thanks for hanging out.
Yep.
And
We'll see you next week.
we'll do it again in a week. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
See ya.